It's time for Recipe of the Day. Can somebody please explain to me how it is February already? I cannot believe how fast this year is going. To distract myself, I need a delicious dinner, and I bet you do too. So air fryer ribs are on the menu. So I have tried a lot of things to make good ribs in the air fryer, some of them more successful than others. I will tell you what I've tried that didn't work, what I tried that doesn't just use the air fryer, and then what I've settled on as the best way to cook ribs in the air fryer. So the first issue is that like a standard rack of baby back ribs are too wide to fit in the air fryer just as one big like rack. And so the first time that I made them, I actually cut them first and then cooked them in there. And the problem was that I couldn't fit very many and they like darkened too much or overcooked before they got nice and soft and juicy. And so that was not my favorite thing to do. And so for a while, what I was doing was actually cooking them low and slow in the oven. So just like on a sheet pan, seasoned up, covered with foil, left them in there for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And then I would cut them into their individual ribs and put them in the air fryer just to like crisp up and brown, brush some barbecue sauce on there, let that kind of caramelize on. That works fantastic, but I wouldn't exactly call that air fryer ribs. That is more like the way I standardly cook ribs, which is just like I said, in the oven. And then I usually broil them after I've cut them, or I put them on the grill after I've cut them to darken them. So that just feels like another way to get that caramelization going and isn't really cooking ribs in the air fryer, right? So what I have done is figured out that you can fit the whole rack of ribs in the air fryer. You just have to kind of snake them around and like lean them downwards. And I'll tell you, they fit in my air fryer if I buy the narrowest pack of baby rack ribs that I can find. And that works good. They do not fit in the slightly smaller model of the air fryer that I had before. I had this one that is in my garage that I went and tested this on just to see if it worked. So they may or may not fit in your air fryer. You want to find that out before you start. Just pop them in there and see if you can close it, if you can lean them in any way to get them down in there so that you can close the air fryer. That's what you want. Okay, if they fit, then you can do this and you're going to mix together a seasoning rub, really whatever seasoning blend you like, but the one that I'm recommending is a tablespoon of kosher salt, a tablespoon of light brown sugar, a tablespoon of smoked paprika, a tablespoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne for a little bit of heat. Mix that up and then sprinkle it all over the ribs, and then still with those ribs in a rack, arrange them in a circle, leaning however you need to get them into your air fryer. Then you're going to set the air fryer to cook at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 35 minutes. Now, there is an optional step you could do here. If you want your ribs even more tender, you can try and do that in the air fryer. The issue that I run into is that because the heat is so intense in the air fryer, even when you have it lower, because of that circulating fan and the air, things can start to dry out sooner than they would in the oven. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn it down to 300 at this point if you want them even more tender. To be clear, they will be good if you don't do this step. They're going to have just a little bit of chew to them. But if you want them like more fall off the bone, okay, so you're going to turn it down to 300 degrees Fahrenheit and flip them over as best you can, just so that other parts of them are exposed to the higher heat. And that's at the top where the heat is highest, where the air is circulating the most. So just try and like spin them or turn them in some way so that different parts of the rack are in that higher hot area. And then cook them at 300 for another 20 minutes. But check them every like 5 to 7 minutes to make sure they're not darkening anywhere. And if they are, you can flip them over again. Okay. So at this point, you've done 35 minutes at 325 degrees Fahrenheit and then 20 minutes at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the optional step. And then you're going to increase the heat to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You do this whether you're doing that optional 20 minutes at 300 degrees Fahrenheit or not. You're turning up the heat to 400 and you're giving them that nice blast of heat that's going to caramelize them and get them nice and dark at the edges. And then you can either cut them into their individual ribs and serve them with barbecue sauce on the side, or you could actually brush them with barbecue sauce before you cut them, put them back into the air fryer yet again at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for another about 5 to 8 minutes, just until that barbecue sauce is starting to darken in spots, and then take them out and cut them into individual ribs. Serve with some more barbecue sauce on the side and enjoy. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.